I got the city on fire. I got the hitters for hire. You know the whips is Italian. You know Pirelli the tires. Baby girl, hold the drugs even on probate. Know they watching, but we never make it clear where a nigga could be located. Parkside, how I growed up. Now I'm drinking till I throwed up. No time for the standstill.
Hey everyone, and welcome to a new video. Now today is the 31st of December. In other words, it's New Year's Eve. I'm sat here at 4:20 p.m. How convenient. Yeah, it's currently 4:20 p.m. My first couple of guests are coming over in around 30 minutes, and I didn't even shower yet, which I still need to do that and get ready essentially. But yeah, I knew I wanted to sit down and record this video for you all. Yeah, I'll be completely honest and say I don't have a concrete plan for this video. I just wanted to sit down, tell you guys a story, and yeah, get you guys going for the new year. So to be entirely honest, even though 2020 has been an incredibly weird year for the entire world, essentially with the coronavirus, obviously, it's also been one of the craziest years of my life. As you all know, I'm very focused on my business, Stage Digital, and I'm not afraid to say that 2020 has been our best year ever. Even though it feels a little bit weird saying that, because I know multiple business owners, for example, in the restaurant industry and in a bunch of other industries that handles people in real life, tangible goods. I know several of these business owners that have completely lost their businesses that they've built up over 10, 20, or even 30 plus years. Okay, so for a lot of people, including myself, it's been a very sad year. We've all been very limited. Yet in terms of business, it's been my best year ever, and I'm very confident in saying that 2021 will be even crazier. But I just want to give you guys some perspective, because if you've known me for a while, if you've been following me for a while, you guys know that I've never been born into money. I never really had money. And so I feel like from a very young age, this always motivated me to want to become independent, right? Now, there are different types of entrepreneurs, right? You have your Steve Jobs, or your I'm not even gonna pull in Warren Buffett, because I feel like Steve Jobs is a much better example of some entrepreneur who goes out and then creates something that completely revolutionizes the world as we know it. Because let's be honest, Steve Jobs, the iPhones, everything they've created has inevitably changed our world. And so that's one type of entrepreneur, right? Someone who grows up in somewhat safe, in a pretty safe environment. I'm not saying that I was put out to a lot of danger during my youth. No, I had some pretty crazy experiences. Some of them were dangerous. I'm just saying, someone who grows up in a safe environment, has very supportive parents, and isn't in the lack of money, right? Just gets the freedom to create a crazy product, right? That can, in very rare circumstances, obviously, but that can produce an entrepreneur like Steve Jobs, right? Growing up with, fair money. They were not rich, I know that, but fair money, safe environment, nothing to worry about, right? Nothing to stress about. That can produce that kind of entrepreneur. I'm not, undermining Steve Jobs by any means. I look up to him by dimensions. And then there's the other entrepreneur, which is more, towards my type of entrepreneur, who grows up in an environment where it's like, I just knew from a very young age that I would have to take care of myself and my mom down along the line, right? Because we didn't have money, to do the things that I wanted, and I was looking at my mom and our situation. My dad, I'm not going to go into detail with my dad. My dad's always been self-employed, and he's always had ups and downs in his career. So yeah, but to put it to the bottom line, like, my family, we've never been wealthy, right? Not my side of the family. And so yeah, from a very young age, I just always knew that I wanted to make my own money, and I wanted to be completely independent. And so I recorded another video yesterday where I talk about how I made my first $10,000, which took me 10 years. So you guys can go ahead and watch that video after this if it's already been uploaded. But yeah, I just knew that I wanted to make money, and so the journey to get here just hasn't been easy, because as I said, 2020 has been my best year in terms of business ever. This year I've had like several days where I've made $10,000 plus in a single day, which is something that just 1 or 2 years ago seemed, well, not 1 year ago, but 2 years ago, that was like my dream, right? That seemed like wow, if I can make like 10 grand in a day, that would be crazy. And so that's, there are a lot of things in terms of like financial goals and business success that have really happened this year. And I'm incredibly grateful for that, because obviously it's been a weird year for most people, and so many people have, not only lost their lives, but also lost their businesses and their careers, right? Their jobs, essentially. So yeah, I'm very grateful that I'm in an industry that hasn't been affected negatively by the coronavirus. And maybe I should say more so I should say a business that hasn't been, an industry that hasn't been affected negatively by the decisions of politicians. Yeah, I'm not going to go into that. But yeah, I mean, as a lot of you guys know, 3 years ago at this point, well, more than 3 years, I don't even know, maybe 4 years ago, 4 years ago, my family moved to Milan, Italy, and I moved with them, and I lived in Milan with them for around 10 months. Well, almost a year, actually. No, I lived there a year. And so for the first 6 months, I was in an international high school in Milan, right? And this was like, it was supposed to be this very international environment, but when I started there, it turned out that like 90% of the kids were just wealthy Italian kids, right? Well, Italian kids out of wealthy families. And so, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, like this was a rather expensive private international school. And, my family really sacrificed a lot to be able to, to get me into this school, right? Well, not to be able to get me in, but to be able to pay for my admission in the school, essentially, because it was quite expensive and we didn't have a lot of means, right? So yeah, I'm very grateful to my family for dedicating such a portion for me to be able to go to that school. It turned out quite quickly that the school wasn't the right place for me. Yeah, it was a little bit fun because essentially all the other kids, like, they had to do like several admission tests just to see if they were like smart enough, etc., to get into the school. But like, personally, I applied, like, everyone had applied like 2 years in advance, right? I applied like 3 months before the year started, and I just had a one-to-one conversation with the what's it called, the headmaster, right? The headmaster of the school. We just had a one-to-one conversation. He's like, after having talked to him for like 15 minutes, he was like, yeah, you don't need to take the test. I can tell you're smart enough to go here. I know this is a weird flex, but I didn't want to get in there. But essentially, as I said, it turned out there was like 90% Italian kids from wealthy families, and I just didn't fit in. It was so weird. They came out of like these incredibly wealthy families. All their parents had like Lamborghinis and Ferraris and huge mansions in the countrysides and penthouses in Milan, and it was just like, it was very fake. The environment seemed very fake to me, and everyone was just trying to flex, their parents' wealth. And I was here like, look, not only do I not have any parent wealth to flex right now, but I don't want to. Like, I want to flex my own achievements. And back then I didn't have a lot of achievements, but I knew that I was going to get there, right? And so after about 6 months in the school, we started in the summer, and then I dropped out in January of that year. There was like a grand snowboarding competition one day. We went to the mountains the whole year, plus some other schools. We went to the mountains. There was like a skiing and snowboarding competition, and I ended up winning like that entire snowboarding competition, where, as I said, there were multiple schools involved. I ended up winning the whole snowboarding competition. I got a trophy that was like at least this tall, like probably the largest trophy I've seen in my entire life. Got that trophy, gave it to someone, and then I never turned up again. Like, that was my last day of school. And so after that, it was like, yeah, I'm going to move back to Denmark. I didn't really know how, because I didn't have any money saved up. But yeah, I just like, I'm going to move back to Denmark by any means necessary. And so, yeah, we found this boarding school around an hour outside of Copenhagen. And so that's what we decided, right? Because since I wasn't making any money yet, I couldn't just drop out completely. I needed to go somewhere, right? And I needed somewhere to live in Copenhagen, well, in Denmark. And so I moved into that. Well, let's rewind a little bit. I was going to move into that boarding school, but before I could move in, obviously the next semester was going to start in the summer, and I dropped out in January. So I still had like 4 or 5 months that I needed to kill before I could move back to Denmark and into the boarding school. And so I lived there with my family in Milan for another 4 or 5 months before I could move back to Denmark. And at that point, obviously, I didn't go to the high school, so I needed, my parents, well, my father and my stepmom, they needed me to do something, right? They couldn't just have me walking around the house all day, even though that's what I would have preferred to do, right? Because already at that point, I wanted to build my online business, and I was already, I had already built like that the Instagram fashion profile where I was selling shout outs, and I was getting into dropshipping at that point. So I had lots of stuff to attend to, right? My online businesses that I was trying to build, but they still needed me to do something. And so they decided to enroll me in like a Italian language school. Now this isn't like an official like high school or anything. It's just like an institution you can go to. It doesn't matter where you're from. Like I was going to school with your age doesn't matter and your nationality doesn't matter, right? I was in a class with people. I was the youngest person at that point. I was 16, I believe. So yeah, I was going to school with, I was the youngest one at 16, and the people in my class were like upwards of 50 plus years old, and we had people from China, Australia, Japan, Brazil. Actually, a lot of Brazilians. There were people from all over the world in that class, essentially, like every imaginable nationality and all imaginable ages, right? I was the youngest person. I was the only person from Denmark or Norway or Sweden. I was the only person from these Scandinavian countries, really. And so yeah, I started there, and I went there for like 4 or 5 months as I was gradually climbing this language ladder. There are like these official grades in which your language level can be at. And so at the end of those 5 months, like my Italian had gotten quite good, and it's gotten to a point where now I can communicate in Italian. I'm not fluent, but I can definitely communicate pretty well in Italian. But yeah, it was a very weird time in my life when I was in this language school. Like I remember around 3 or 4 weeks after starting there, actually not even, maybe even less, maybe a week after starting there, the other students in the class, they wanted to go for this aperitivo, which is called in Italy. Aperitivo is basically where after work or after school you go out to a bar and buy a drink, and then with that drink you can take as much food as you want. It's a lovely thing, right? It's very cheap, and you can get a drink and as much food as you want for like 10 euros. It's incredible. That would be like 5 times as expensive here in Copenhagen. But yeah, a week after starting there, we went to Aperitivo with the class, and I brought my friend from Milan, from the high school, one of my best friends, Andrew, or Andrea. Andrea is his real name, but he's from Texas and from Italy. So yeah, we call him Andrew. Andrew has actually just written an article that's going to go live on Medium soon. So yeah, you guys might read that. But yeah, I brought Andrew with me to the Aperitivo, and I was like, okay, look at this girl from my class, right? There was a certain girl from my class who was like, I was 16 at the time, she was 23, right? So yeah, she was 7 years older than me, and I had no idea if it was going to be realistic for me to flirt with her or to get with her, essentially. But I was just like telling Andrew, look at that girl, like she's pretty hot, like she looks pretty cute, right? But she was, granted, I was 16, she was 23. It seemed a little bit unrealistic at the time, but I just said to Andrew, I'm gonna go for this one, and so yeah, I ended up going for it, and that was actually my first girlfriend, like that evening. And then obviously we didn't become together that evening, but yeah, we had some good talks that evening, and then a week later we went off to Paris together, right? And she paid for everything. Like I had no money, so she literally paid for like ticket to Paris and Airbnb in Paris and everything, right? And so yeah, my first girlfriend was like 7 years older than me, and it happened very spontaneously. But it was just so weird because this was such a lost time in my life, right? All my friends back here in Copenhagen, they had started their first year of high school. All my new friends in Milan, they had started their first year of high school. Now, I was the only high school dropout that I really knew, right, at the time. And I was in this language school in the outskirts of Milan with no direction, right? I just knew, okay, in half a year I'm going to move back to Denmark and start this boarding school. But it all seemed so lost, and I was making no money at the time. Yet I just knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I just knew that it was going to work out in the end. And apparently it worked out. I'm doing pretty fucking well for myself, if I do say so myself at this point. And yeah, I really felt like I wanted to get this out here on New Year's Eve, because it has been a weird year, probably for me and for a lot of you. And a lot of you are probably wondering what's going to happen going into the next year. And I just want to say, going into 2021, if you know that you're an entrepreneur and you have that feeling within you, and it's the right thing for you, then don't stop dreaming and don't stop working, okay? Because it's gonna happen eventually if you work hard for it and if you have the dreams, okay? I had them, and I was so lost in my life, right? Yeah, sure, I was making some money selling, shout outs on Instagram, but we're talking like $50 a day. It was quite irrelevant. the point is that I was just trying, right? I was growing every single day. I was trying these different business models, right? I was learning more and more and more, right? Learning is incredibly important. I was learning new stuff every day, connecting with people from all over the world. Like I was on the phone with multiple people from like the US, Australia, Canada, just like young business owners like myself. And to be honest, a lot of the time I had no idea why I was talking to them, right? We didn't have a plan. We weren't making a business together. We weren't really doing anything together. It was just all so new for me. While I was communicating with these people, I was trying to build my different businesses, not making a lot of money, a little bit, you know, gradually more and more, to a point where now, you know, in a single day, I can make more than I did in you know, in the first 3 years of doing online business, right? Like it's really just an exponential curve that keeps growing and that keeps rewarding you the harder you work and then the more you dream. Okay, and so yeah, I'm not gonna ramble on for too much longer. The point of this video is to say that if you're lost, you know, if you're an entrepreneur within you, but you're lost in your life, just know that every single entrepreneur is at that point, you know, not just at one point in their life, but at multiple points, right? We're all gonna hit those roadblocks and those points where it's just like, is this also meaningless, right? And so you just gotta hold on and not give up, because if you know that you don't want to be working for someone for the rest of your life, then I really don't want you to succumb to that peer pressure and that, you know, that societal pressure of, I didn't mean to say suicidal, I meant to say like the pressure from society, right? You know, to just choose a traditional career path. Because if that's not for you, if you know that's not for you, then I really don't want you to do that, because you're going to be very depressed by doing that, okay? I know multiple people have, you know, ended up in this situation. Sure, there's nothing wrong with having a regular job while you're still working on your entrepreneurial career. Just make sure that if you really want this to work, then you got to make it your number one priority in life, okay? Nothing can trump it, okay? Your girlfriend can be your number one priority. Your family, you know, of course you should always prioritize your family, but you know, really, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, then you really can't prioritize anything higher than your business, and that's just a fact, okay? What you're gonna see, and you know, to someone who's not an entrepreneur and to someone who's not into money or whatever, this gonna sound completely far out, but the fact is, the more you focus on your business and the more money you make, the more you're gonna be able to provide for your family and help out those in need, you know? If you're just a crybaby sitting there on the side and saying, oh, it's not about money, you know, I just want to focus on my family and all those in need. Yeah, but how are you going to do that if you have nothing to give them other than love? Yeah, of course, giving love is important. Of course it is, but, you know, we all need money to survive, right? And the more you have, the more you can give. It's as simple as that. So yeah, some people might like that, some people might not like that. I'm not gonna keep talking. I just wanted to say, yeah, if you're feeling lost going into this year or looking back at 2020, just know that it'll all make sense at some point. All the hard work you've done, all the meditation you've done, all the goal setting, all the work, it'll all make sense at some point. You're gonna be looking back and thinking, wow, I'm very grateful that I stayed on this path and that I stayed dedicated. So yeah, guys, happy New Year's Eve, and that's gonna be it for this video. I wish you all the best in 2020, okay? 2021 it is. I'll see you in the next video.